Honourable Ishmael.
Thank you, Chair. I do have quite a few questions. My first question to the Minister. Why did a CEO pass probation despite the committee chairs of the then SAT board being of the view that she was neither suitable nor capable to continue in her role due to her poor performance? And why were you, Minister, so keen to appoint a CFO who had presided over years of qualified audit to lead this entity? Minister, was Ms. Guliwe the highest ranked candidate in the interview process prior to her appointment as permanent CEO? If not, why did you select her over the higher ranked candidate? Minister, when were you first made aware of allegations against the CEO of SA Tourism, including but not limited to the violation of the PFMA during the Dubai Expo transaction? Did you actually take any real action? If you did, please provide us information of that. And then, Minister, when were you first made aware of allegations of bullying leveled, by the CEO of SAT? My next question, upon receipt of the Ngobane forensic report commissioned by the Board of SA Tourism, did you, Minister, take any action against the CEO or support the board in taking any action? And Minister, when you received the SIU investigation report, did you not think it's important to make it available to the Tourism Portfolio Committee? And why? I mean, why did you not make it? Why did you not take us in your confidence? My next question, Minister, have you ever attempted to block the board's attempts to discipline the CEO? Why do you appear to have repeatedly ignored serious and credible accusations against the CEO while harshly, pursuing members of the SAT board? On the face of it, Minister, it seems that you are intent on protecting the CEO from any attempts by the board to act against her. So I need some clarity. I want to understand, your thinking. Minister, my next questions I'm going to ask you are related to, to the dissolved SAT board and its predecessors. Now, less than a year ago, you stood before the public and expressed full confidence in this board, whom you personally selected for their competence and experience. What specific failures of this board, which were not apparent to you then, justify their complete dissolution now? And then, Minister, given your apparent interest in due process, which we all agree with, but why have you twice now dissolved the SAT board via media statements rather than by notice in the Gazette as required by the Tourism Act first? You dissolved the board first, then only gazetted after appointing the interim SAT board members. And then, Minister, on the same note of process, why did you choose not to appoint a deputy chairperson of the board in September last year, which in fact is in violation of the provisions of the Tourism Act? It appears again, Minister, that you are extremely keen to enforce regulations when it comes to the board. But when it concerns you or Ms. Guliwe, however, you seem to have no desire to meet the requirements of the Tourism Act or to enforce any consequence for possible violations of the PFMA. Now, given that you are aware of the view that the SAT board is effectively non-functional without a chairperson, why did you neglect to appoint an interim or deputy chair after the resignation of the chairperson? I think the former board has publicly stated that it called for your assistance in settling its internal disputes with the former chairperson and that you gave no reply to this call for assistance. Is this true? If so, why did you not take any steps to address the dysfunction within the board until it was too late? Or if not, can you provide the committee with any evidence to that effect? So again, for our understanding. And then, Minister, do you think it's correct that the board should cease to have any powers to fulfill its, judiciary duties when it is without a chair? Is that why you neglected to appoint an interim chair despite the board asking you to do so? And then, Minister, what was the reason for the chair's resignation? Unfortunately, he's not here today. But did this actually inform your unwillingness to appoint an interim chair? And then, Minister, did you take any disciplinary measures against the chairperson, Mr. Gregory Davids, for not implementing the age recommendations and SIU investigation recommendations, including the grievances issues the dissolved members highlighted today in her presentation? What have you as the minister done to ensure the AG recommendations are effectively implemented? Because as you always say, the buck stops with you. So while we're asking the general questions, I'm asking you, what have you as the minister actually done? Did you intervene in the Auditor General's audit of SA tourism, including the New York office, in order to, narrow the scope of an investigation? If so, why? And will you provide written records of the same? And then, Minister, did you secure any evidence suggesting that the now dissolved board of the SAT had indeed held a meeting prior to dissolving the board? Because we need clarity on that. I think the country is waiting for that response. Now, Minister, given that Section 20 of the Tourism Act allows the board to take resolutions without meeting, on which basis did the legal advice you received recommend you to dissolve the board? And will you table the advice you received so that we can see your legal advice and we can understand it better? And then, Minister, did you investigate the Canele board as per their suggestion? And if not, can you please advise us why not? The next questions I'm asking you now regarding the current status of SA tourism and ongoing issues. What is the status of the company secretary, given that she was suspended by the now suspended CEO, as per the statements in the media? Was this done according to procedure? Is the CEO allowed to fire the secretary? If not, why did you not intervene at the time, and why are you not addressing this matter? And then, Minister, will you publicly release the Nkubane forensic report detailing the allegations against Ms. Kuliwe, and which informed the former board's decision to suspend Ms. Kuliwe, even if it's a precautionary suspension? What are the terms of reference for the independent investigation into the CEO? Does it include a mandate to investigate the conduct of the now dissolved board in this matter to get a full, unbiased picture? And then again, I'm now looking at the interim board that you've put into place. What are the prior positions held by Brian Mushela, now a member of the SAT board? Is it the same Brian Mushela involved in the Cash Paymaster Services Consortium, which was liquidated to recover over 300 million rand owed to SASSA? If so, why does the minister think he's an appropriate person to steady the ship at SA Tourism? If not, please advise. Minister, you say the TBS CSA are happy and not aggrieved by your decision. However, I have a media statement stating otherwise. I can read it out to you or send it to you, Minister. You can advise. Through you, Chair, I'll even send it to you on our group. Now my questions to the dissolved board. My first question, when was the board made aware of the allegations leveled at Ms. Kuliwe, and what was your response? My second question, when did the board first inform Ms. Kuliwe and the minister of its intention to suspend the CEO, Ms. Kuliwe? My third question, when did the board formally resolve to suspend the CEO, and by which mechanism? What mechanism did you use? And what was the reasoning for its suspension of Ms. Kuliwe? You touched on it, but I want, actually, if you could provide us with much more substance, I'll appreciate it. And then if this decision was formally made by a round robin, was this a formally established procedure of the board as provided in Section 20 of the Tourism Act? And then my fifth question, by which mechanism did the board establish this procedure? I want to understand it from your point of view. Did the board take any legal advice in pursuing its decision to suspend Ms. Kuliwe on the 1st of August, with special reference to the legality of making this decision by round robin? And then my next question, why did the board decide to call for a no confidence vote in the chairperson? You touched on this, quite a few of you in your presentations, but can you make available your recommendations on this to the minister in writing, please, if you do have it right now? And then given the serious claim of an intimidating work environment, the company secretary's grievances, what independent investigations were launched to verify these claims before the decision to suspend was taken? And can you provide this committee with the findings, please? And then, are you aware if Ms. Kuliwe was ranked number 1 on the candidate list for the CEO position? If yes, please provide the names according to the top ranking. I've asked this question to the minister, but I'm asking it to the dissolved SAT board as well for clarity and for transparency. And then my last question, did the board act to appoint a permanent CFO after the position became vacant in 2024? I think Minister, someone making your minister, Mr. Opa Pilani actually mentioned that you did not get a suitable candidate, if I'm, but anyway, this was part of my questions. And what are you doing going forward? Because it has been a long time now. So please advise. Thank you, Chair. I hope I did it within 20 minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Ishmael. And, we go by trial and error. I think it's extremely unfair towards the minister. We said we are going to do inquisitorial. And you were speaking so fast, I don't even think she captured most of your questions.
Okay, I can.
So I think the process going forward is that you ask a question and we allow the minister an opportunity to answer. I think that would be fair. Otherwise, all your questions you've asked there, even if I'm taking it for myself, I would not have been able to capture all of those questions that you were just, unfortunately, you didn't. You were rambling them off. Let me put it that way. So it went so fast, and some of your questions Minister may not have captured them. So I think we'll see Minister will answer those that she captured, and then I think those that she didn't capture, then you raise them again one by one. And I then think going forward that a member will raise the question, Minister will get the opportunity then to answer. I think that would be going forward to the next honourable member, so that we allow Minister to be able to interact with all of the questions that you are posing, as well as the board. I think that would be fair to everyone. And the 20 minutes, Honourable Ishmael, is inclusive of the answering session. Now, I think you wanted to finish all the questions in 20 minutes and not allow the process for answering. So over to you, Minister, and to the board, but Minister first.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson, and thank you to Honourable Ishmael for the questions. Indeed, I did try to capture as many of them as I could, but I will appreciate if Honourable Ishmael can send them to me so that I can do justice. I think, honourable members, a lot of questions has been raised by Honourable Ishmael. And for me, we should also say, why are we here? And my understanding, it is the alleged unlawful removing of the dissolved board. And of course, in the process, a lot of detail came out, especially administrative detail, that I will not be able to answer myself. And that's why I would like to get your questions in writing and seek the answers if I don't have them. I've also read in the newspapers that...
Chairperson.
Yes, Honourable Maecho.
Yes, Chair. I'm quite worried and concerned with regard to the response of the Minister on Honourable Ishmael, including the advice or the guidance that you have just guided the House in as far as Honourable Ishmael posing the question to the Minister. The response which made me, as this member of this committee, to be concerned is that Minister keeps on referring to say Honourable Ishmael should write questions to her, and therefore she will then respond, whereas there is support staff here with the Minister. And therefore, your guidance was that this session will be an interactive session. So there is an ample time here. I don't think that we will agree on submitting questions to the Minister. We want to deal with these issues as per the agenda here in this portfolio committee, not to submit written questions to the Minister. We are here, the Minister is here, the support staff is here, and therefore that's my concern in terms of what the response coming from the Minister is all about. Thank you.
Honourable Maecho, I think you have, I listened carefully to what Minister has said. She's not saying that she will not answer any of the questions and that Honourable Ishmael needs to write them to her and then she'll answer. What she's saying is that those that she captured, she's going to answer them. And then she said that perhaps some of those questions that she did not capture if Honorable Ishmael can write them. That is what I heard. But Minister, I think I have paved the way forward. I have then said that those that you didn't capture, Honorable Ishmael will also be able to check those questions that you managed to capture and answered, and those that you didn't capture, she will then be able to get an opportunity again to pose them one by one for you to interact with them. I think I've said that would be the way forward. Yes, Honorable Ishmael?
Thank you, Chair. I'm just concerned with, I don't have the issue with what you just raised now, but I just want to highlight something. And this put me a step back. The minister just in her opening remarks, and I just want to get clarity. I know our decision to have this meeting was with regard to the dissolving of the board. Every question that I've asked you is related to the dissolvement of the board. So I'm not sure if you were saying some of the questions I asked is not in regard to that, but every question I've actually aligned it to the dissolvement of the board and the consequences of thereof. So thank you, Minister, and thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Ishmael. Minister, you may interact with Honorable Ishmael's questions.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, I was looking at the actual agenda, the briefing by the Minister of Tourism. I was just looking at that. And so I am aware about what is there and need to be answered. In no ways I will refuse to answer anything. It mustn't be read into it, Honorable Member, that I don't want to answer. It is just I had difficulty in capturing as Honorable Ishmael was speaking. And therefore, because I could see that she's reading from somewhere, can she assist me with the ones I wasn't able to capture? So that was my first point. And then in terms of the agenda item 10 from 10:15 to 11. Now let me get into the ones that I have to follow what the chairperson is advising. The third question, the first one I was busy writing, why did? The second one I was writing highest ranking. And then the third one, why did I settle or select the CEO? Allegations of bullying, the Nkubani report to the PC. Did I protect the CEO? The issue about gazetting of the board, interference without, I didn't capture it, reason for chairperson, New York office I didn't capture it, legal advice I captured halfly, status of company secretary, release of Nkubani report. I went up to 13, 14 questions. Now let me go back, chairperson, in terms of your ruling. If I may ask Honorable Ishmael to repeat the first question so that I captured it fully.
Thank you, Minister. I have actually WhatsApped you all my questions right now as we speak, but nevertheless, I'll ask you the question for procedure. Minister, why did the CEO pass probation despite the committee chairs of the then SAD board being of the view that she was neither suitable nor capable to continue in her role due to poor performance? Why were you, Minister, so keen to appoint a CFO who had presided over years of qualified audits to lead the entity?
Proceed,
Chairperson, let me explain to honourable members the procedure that led to the final appointment of the CEO. The procedure is that SAT appoint an independent panel to do the interview process, the shortlisting process, the psychometric test, and all of that. Then the board will then make a recommendation to the minister after they have followed that process. My role then is to take that recommendation to cabinet for approval. And so the process did go to cabinet, and she was finally approved by cabinet. So that is the procedure. I have heard some of the allegations in the media that she was not number one and somebody else was number one. And based on that, Honorable Chairperson, I sourced some information about the process that I can share with the honorable members, knowing that that might come up. So I can share with the honorable members the report that I have received, a close-up report of the CEO position that I've requested from them now on the 17th of November. And here is the procedure that the panel followed that came to a decision to recommend her. I will submit this to honorable members. So that is my question on the issue of probation came afterwards. The probation, I suppose, was part of her a contract with SAT. And the probation in terms of law, if you put somebody on probation, you must monitor that person on a monthly basis and then have reports. And if you get to the end of probation, you must then say you are weak here, you are weak there. I wasn't part of that process of checking her probation period. Thank you, Honorable Chair. Next one.
When were you, Minister, first made aware of allegations against the CEO of SA Tourism, including but not limited to the violation of the PFMA during the Dubai Expo transaction? And did you take any real action, if any?
You may proceed, Minister.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson. First of all, the allegations against the CEO and other members of SAT happened in 2021, before my time. Where I became aware of the allegations is in the annual report of 22-23 that came to Parliament, where the AG raised the issue. Then, when the board raised the issue with me about this allegation, I had a meeting with Mr. Lawson Naidu and Professor Gregory Davids. And I've requested them to go and look into the matter and also report back to me whether we have recovered the money. I do think that I have got a WhatsApp from Mr. Lawson. I think what the board then did, or I don't know which board now, but they had then instituted or appointed the Mkubani report. Thank you. Let me just get, is it okay, Chairperson, if I get it quickly?
Yes, Minister.
It says,
Minister, there's a hand.
should I do it later?
Honorable Longo.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, can I please propose that we break for lunch and Minister try finding all her documents with her so that when we come back, the interrogation begins. Thank you, Chair. That's my proposal, that we break for lunch and come back after that. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Flongo, but the lunch is not ready yet. So we will proceed, Minister, until I do get the go-ahead from the kitchen side, and then we'll break.
Okay, I will not, sorry, Honorable Tlonga. I will then take your advice and look for that at lunchtime. I do recall a meeting that I held with Mr. Naidu and Professor Davids, and I said to them, go and investigate and come back to me whether we have recovered the money. That was my instruction to them, or whether there were processes to recover the money. Because even the AG report said that the money, we must try and recover the money. And I will not quote it now, but what I recall was that there was a WhatsApp from Mr. Naidu that the money was recovered. And I didn't take it further than that. So on that allegations of the Dubai, and I think it's the Dome, even the AG, when the AG briefed the portfolio committee on our 22-23 annual report and financial, the AG raised it. So it wasn't hidden away anywhere. It was there in the annual report that was also sent to Parliament. So my suggestion on this one is that in terms of action against the CEO, in terms of the act, people must get upset when I refer to the act, because that is what I have to deal with. In terms of the act, as I said, the board is a creature of statute and how the board must exercise their powers, which the board did to exercise their powers. They did the investigation. They then in June approached me for concurrence. I asked them that please provide me with all the information so that I use the same information to decide my concurrence or not. The board provided me with the information in drips and drabs, not that I get back in drips and drabs, until the meeting, my quarterly meeting I have with the board took place on the 4th of July. And in the meeting of the 4th of July, the board provided me with the last input of that information with a letter from CTH. Like I explained in my statement, at the time, I also didn't have a legal advisor. I then turned to Minister Buthelezi. I said, Minister, this is a labor issue. The board asked for my concurrence or not concurrence. Can you assist me with a legal team from your department? The minister then finally on the, I think I'll get the dates right, the 15th or so of July or the 25th of July. I know there's a 5 in the number. Then appointed a director from DPSA to look into the matter. Then on the 27th of July, the minister then furnished me, or the Department of DPSA furnished me with their opinion. That was on the 27th of July. Before I could go back to the board on the 27th of July after I received that, I had also explained to some of the board members that one, in terms of replacing or filling the vacancies on the board, that I was in the process of interviewing and looking at 4 people. And out of those 4 people, the intention was, now that the chairperson has resigned, to replace the chairperson and the deputy chairperson. The process that I have to follow, and the DG is here and the DGD of Corporate Services, I have to submit those names to the Department of Tourism to do security clearance. And the Department of Tourism did the security clearance. 1 or 2 of the names that I have suggested did not pass security clearance, and I had to drop them. And then in that week of the 1st of August, we had booked the Government Gazette to publish that Friday, because you can only gazette on a Friday. We yeah, that was on the 1st of August. Then all of these things happened. This board, and I'm not going to get into semantics, I will stick to what the Act is saying and what my understanding and interpretation is of the Act. And that is why soon after I dissolved this board, I was able to appoint six people and a chair and a deputy chair on the 4th of August. That's also related to that. Okay, now I'm getting into the next question. Yeah. Sorry.
Thank you, Chair. I was just saying the Minister is drafted to answer another question right now. Okay. Minister, upon receipt of the Nkobane forensic report commissioned by the Board of SA Tourism, did you, Minister, as the Minister, take any action against the CEO or support the board in taking action? And Minister, it's all in one question. When you received the SIU investigation report, did you not think it's important to make it available to the Tourism Portfolio Committee? And why, knowing full well that, especially me, have been asking 1,000 questions with regard to internal audits and, all the irregularities and wasteful expenditure, etc.
We'll proceed, Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. With regard to the SIU report, when we received the report in April, the report had to be processed. And that is why I referred it to the board to do the processing. Then in my meeting of the 4th of July with the board, when I raised the issue of the SIU report, some board members claimed that they've never received the report. The then chairperson was then still the chairperson, Professor Davis. He went into his laptop and he confirmed the date that he sent this report to all the board members. In the board meeting with them, some people claim they've not received it. So I was already concerned it's July and you have not actioned the report. And the first response was we did not receive it. I then say I want to put it on a record that every board member must respond to me in a writing, did they receive the report or not? And there are some of the responses. Some of them said we didn't open up our emails, but yes, we did receive the report. So now, out of this SIU report, when I look at the SIU report, I also received a recommendation from Advocate Mochibe, the head of the SIU, gave me advice that I should write to the president for a proclamation to investigate so that they could deal with possible prosecution and recovery of the money. That is what I have done with the SIU report. And I can share the letter that I've written to the president. I can share that with the honorable members. The first part of the question, Honorable Ishmael.
Upon receipt of the Nkobane forensic report commissioned by the board,
Yes.
did you take action?
Upon the receipt of the board, the Nkobane report, I had a meeting with the board. And I said, please provide me with all the information, including the Nkobane report. The board provided that to me. I then said to them, anything else that you have used to arrive at your recommendation. And between the middle of June, and they claimed that they've sent things, and there were two board members that were responsible to make sure. They can confirm, Honorable Ishmael, that in the meeting of the 4th of July, I received the last bit of outstanding information that I've requested. I can get you the emails from my chief of staff where on a weekly basis, he's followed up with information. So yes, I received all of the information. And that's why I was dwelling into your already answer to say what I did with the information was to seek advice and help from my colleague, Minister Buthelezi, which he did provide. And then on the 27th of July, he had then responded to me with advice. And while we were busy with this Nkobane report, I was also dealing with the filling of the vacancies on the SAT board. Then when the chairperson resigned, there became another vacancy now. And I had already submitted 6 names to the Department for Security Clearance, and the department came back with 4. Then that Friday, I think it must have been the 4th, I then gazetted, dissolved this board and gazetted the interim board because the process was already in place. That is part of your second question, Honorable Ishmael.
I'm very tempted, Chair, to bring in the Deputy Chair. It's a question, but anyway, I'll reach that later. Minister, just a follow-up. What was the DBS's advice with regard to the Nkobane report? Just a follow-up on that one because I want to understand it a bit better. If you could make it available or talk us through it.
Yes, I can certainly provide the committee with a copy of the advice from DPSA, basically confirming that for any action against the CEO, in terms of the Tourism Act, it is the minister that appoint and dismiss, and that the board do need my concurrence. They did not go into the substance of the matter. They just confirm the legal powers that I have as the minister. But I can make that available to the Portfolio Committee. The response from DPSA, Honourable Member.
Thank you, Minister. That brings me back to the point. If you knew there was irregularities and all that issues, why did you, as the minister, then not take action? But anyway, it's linked up to my next question. Have you, Minister, ever attempted to block the board's attempt to discipline the CEO? Because why do you appear to have repeatedly ignored serious and credible accusations against the CEO while basically harshly, pursuing the members of the SAT board? That's why on the face of it, Minister, it seems that you are intent on protecting the CEO. It's giving the reflection out there from any attempts by the board to act against her, which it is, they need to do something as a governance structure as well to be able to fix things. So have you ever done that?
Honourable Ishmael, I'm glad you call it a perception. And let me say, I do respect your opinion. And we're all entitled to our opinions, but we're not entitled to our own facts. I have seen this perception being generated outside in the media that I'm trying to protect the CEO. That's why I even said I'm so happy to come to the Portfolio Committee because I knew, Chairperson, that here I was going to be given an opportunity to put evidence and facts before you. So that is a perception, that is somebody's opinion. They are entitled to your opinion. They almost created a situation to say to the minister, you damned if you do and you damned if you don't. That is what has happened out there. And so I am happy today to share the facts at my disposal that I have with the committee. And to destroy that perception that I have actually protected the CEO, when I just explained to you now, the whole process went to my colleague to seek advice, came back on the 27th. Is that protecting? What does protecting really mean? In terms of the law, how do I protect the CEO?
Okay, Minister, now I'm asking questions that are related to the dissolved board and its predecessors. So, Minister, less than a year ago, you stood before the public and expressed full confidence in this dissolved board now, whom you personally selected for their competence and experience. So what specific failures of this board, which were not apparent to you then, justify their complete dissolution now? Because if it's really based on just one irregular meeting, which I know it's procedure and so forth, but I want to understand your input from there. Because I think it's the first board that I'm seeing, and I think I joined just before you in the last term. We've seen the first dissolution of the board, which I think was appropriate, but to think that right now we actually had people that were really come from the, tourism background, and I think we're just picking up the pieces to steer the tourism sector to the, to where we wanted to go.
There you go. Thank you.
I proceed.
In terms of the Tourism Act, the board, in the exercise of its power, the board must always be guided by the principle of legality, which is part of the rule of law as set out in Section 1C of our Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, and also one of the founding provisions of the Constitution. And if you ask me the question as to why I've dissolved the board, in the exercise of the powers, that the board must always be guided by legality as part of the rule of law in the Constitution. And if, like I see that the board have said in the newspapers that the board members plan to challenge my decision, then maybe, Honour Member, the court will bring finality to the board's interpretation of the Tourism Act. That will be tested vis-a-vis the legal advice that I have received. That's really how I want to answer that one, Honourable Ishmael.
Thank you, Minister. Now it's just leading up to my next question. Now, given your apparent interest in due process, which I think we all agree with, why have you twice dissolved the SAD board via a media statement first, rather than by notice in the Gazette as required by the Tourism Act? Because you dissolved the first board, then only gazetted after appointing the interim SAD members. So, really, on the same note of process, why did you choose not to appoint a deputy chairperson of the board in September last year in violation of the provisions of the Tourism Act? It appears, Minister, that you are extremely keen to enforce regulation when it comes to the board. But when it concerns you or Ms. Gulewe, however, you seem to have no desire to meet the requirements of the Tourism Act or to enforce any consequences for possible violations of the PFMA. I'm bringing this all together because it's coming back to the requirements of the Tourism Act. So there are loopholes that I'm seeing here, Minister, and that's what I want you to respond to.
Honourable Ishmael, that will be the last question that Minister will be interacting with. Then we are going to break for lunch.
Food. Yes, Honourable Chairperson, let me deal with the announcement versus gazetting. I made the announcement and it was gazetted on the Friday. It takes effect when it is gazetted. And in both processes, both the debacle of the Tottenham Hotspur's board, I dissolve and then I, at the same time, gazette. And it takes effect once it is gazetted. There's nothing wrong with this, especially with the Tottenham one, where there was a lot of public interest. I'm accountable to the public. I'm accountable to Parliament. Then on the issue of Ms. Gulewe, I think, honourable members, I know there's still a lot of questions going to come about her and around her and whatever. I can answer the questions in terms of my oversight role over SAT. But things that she did in her personal capacity, I hope you don't expect me to answer for her. Maybe if you one day want to call her, it is entirely up to you. Let me answer in terms of the deputy chair, why I've not appointed a deputy chair. When I had released the previous chair and deputy chair of their positions, they opt to resign. I didn't fire them. I didn't dismiss them. I just removed them from their positions. And again, members of parliament, the question and the reasons why that led us to that has not been answered. It is being denied. And it's being denied because the honorable members or the two people have decided to go to court. And that is their legal right. And I respect their legal right. But in terms of the amounts that I've mentioned, I received those from what the CFO has paid out or was in the process of paying out. I can't make up a thumbs up figure of 900,000. And then today people claim that they've never claimed and they received nothing. I can bring the invoices that I received from the CFO of SAT regarding the expenditure. I did call a board meeting and I raised the issue of the expenditure with the board, led by the two previous people. And I can give the committee the recording. Because in the recording, the response from the chairperson was that they have got 5 million rand, which is correct. But the 5 million rand is meant for the total budget of the board. In that 5 million rand, only 1.44 million has been allocated to board fees. So again, there are some dispute around figures here on Parliament. We're all under oath. I can repeat what I've said inside or outside, but I can bring you the invoices, honorable members, that I received from the SAT CFO. So on the deputy chair, you know, it's almost as if we are dealing with angels here, you know, holier than thou. That board was so divided into factions. I can remember I discussed it with one member of parliament. And I said to myself that the only one that I've noticed that could maybe be a good person to appoint as the chairperson was this professor, because he's from UWC, he runs the faculty of risk and governance, and he knows the PMFA. And just let him try and clean up and try and find some solutions to this based on his experience. I appointed him. And then decided, thereafter board members resigned, some board members resigned, and I then decided that I'm not going to appoint a deputy chair. And I also don't, Honorable Ishmael, know the reasons why Professor Davis resigned, but I can give you the actual letter, Chairperson, that he wrote to me and the reasons that he put into that. So then that is why I didn't appoint a deputy chair.
Chair, on a point of clarity, please, because we're going far out and the minister hasn't actually zoomed into the reply of my question. But I won't take much time.
No, you wait for me to give you the go-ahead.
Sure.
Chairperson here. Minister, Honorable Ishmael, is there a follow-up that you want?
I want to just do a follow-up because I feel the minister hasn't actually responded to my question.
Okay, sure. Do your follow-up.
Thank you, Chair. So, Minister, my question to you, and I'm going to come back to the Deputy Chair. On the 15th of August, and I'm coming back to the impact of the Gazette and the notification of the dissolvement of the board and a point of technicality. So on the 15th of August, there was already the information that the dissolved board is dissolved. And on the 22nd of August, it was gazetted. That's almost 1 week. Okay. But secondly, when you now relapse onto the question of the appointment of the chairperson, you are telling me all these issues about Professor Gregory Davids appointed as the chair, and you're giving a very weak response with regard to why you did not appoint a deputy chair because of whatever issues the board had. But you have made life very difficult for the board without them having a deputy chair. And I find the time span from September 2024, it is now September 2025, and there is still no deputy chair. And you should have, I feel, have appointed a deputy chair or a new interim chair as soon as Professor Gregory Davids has resigned, for whatever reasons which you will send to us, in order for the board to be able to continue functioning.
Okay, so
Honorable Minister.
let me just go back to the previous question. On the 18th of March 2023, I was asked a question in Parliament by Mr. De Freitas about what are the dates which the board meetings at African Tourism were held, the budget allocation for each of the board meetings, the details of each expenditure of each board meeting for held in the past 3 financial years, starting from the 1st of January 2023. And there it is on the record in Parliament what I gave as an answer. Then there was another question asked by Mr. J. van der Berg from the Northern Cape Freedom Front Plus. Again, a lot of questions around the total cost of each meeting for the 23-24 financial years. And I have given the honorable member the answer in writing. Here it is, the breakdown. So the allegations...
Sorry, Honorable Minister.
Yes.
I think you need to just zoom in closely because
Yeah.
you have the answers on your phone. We don't have them. And if you could
No,
just
I will provide it.
you could provide Honorable
Yes.
Ishmael with an
I
answer.
will certainly provide with this, because I just wanted to also illustrate one point, that there are always two sides to a story. And I am here today to give you my version of the story. And I think to just believe one side of the story, yes, I don't mind, you can accuse me of everything. But this is the opportunity that I'm using today to state my side of the story.
Chair, just on a point of clarity here, because I'm losing the minister somewhere. I'm asking you the question.
Honorable Ishmael,
Sorry, Chair.
I know you are very excited. You say chair, 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 and then you proceed without the chair giving you a go-ahead. I know we want to get to the bottom of everything, but as we've stated, we will give everyone an opportunity to pose the questions and for the minister to clarify us. Otherwise, we are not going to get to the bottom of things. So we don't want a dialogue where you just jump in and pose and ask the minister. Let's do it orderly. You are watched by millions of South Africans who were also looking for answers. So let us give the minister the opportunity to answer. Minister, if you can zoom straight to what Honorable Ishmael asked. Thank you.
Because it's a long question.
Okay, Honorable Ishmael, try and section off your question for Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Minister, I'm asking you, you're going through the meetings and responses to written questions. I myself asked you questions on the amount of meetings, etc. I'm asking you the question. I want a direct response to say from September 2024 It is now September 2025. There is no deputy chair appointed. 1 year. Surely in 1 year, you could have appointed a deputy chair. Never mind all the other stories around it, because it's essential for the board to work.
I think you are wrong, Honorable Ishmael. I have appointed a deputy chair, like you said yourself, on the 22nd of August this year. I've appointed a chair and a deputy chair. Yes, there was a vacancy on the previous, let me say, the dissolved board of a deputy chair. After the two people here today resigned, and I appointed only a chair. I admit I only appointed a chair. You're asking me, why did I not appoint a deputy chair?
Taking so long. Sorry, Chair.
No, but I did.
Well, Ishmael, you see, I've said I don't
No.
want dialogue, ne?
I did respond to Honorable Chairperson.
Sorry, Honorable Minister, I
Yes.
just want to come in. I want my meeting to be orderly.
Yes,
And I was trying to avoid dialogue.
yeah.
In how I have laid out the meeting needs to proceed. So I can see Honorable Ishmael is very excited to get to the bottom of things. We all want to get to the bottom of things, Honorable Ishmael. And then, Minister, I think you just need to answer the questions directly that Honorable Ishmael is posing. The question that she posed was, why was no deputy chairperson appointed? So when the chairperson resigned, in the absence of the chair, there was supposed to be a deputy chair. And so there were no deputy chair to take over the responsibilities of the chair. I think that is as direct as I can get.
So the deputy chair, when the board had their last quarterly meeting on the 31st of July, that meeting was chaired by Professor Davids. Yes? The 1st of August, a few hours later, this is the 1st of August date that's in semantics, whether it's legal or not. The 1st of August, the board did a round robin and they appointed a representative of the board on the 1st of August. Now, I must take you through those steps. Now, when they did that, this is the issue in question, and I will keep on coming back to it. Because then, on the 22nd of August, I appointed a chair and a deputy chair after I have dissolved this board. The previous time, Chairperson, I thought you was talking about the previous deputy chair. So it's not just me who's not listening, Chairperson. I'm trying my best. And I will answer the text that I've got at my disposal.
Chair.
No, I don't want to. I'm going to try and pose the question again, Minister. We are talking about the period of the dissolved board. There was no deputy chair. When you appointed Professor Davids as the chairperson, there was no deputy chair appointed with Professor Davids. So we are talking about that period and not the period when you dissolved the board that Professor Davids led. So I think that is the question that Honorable Ishmael is asking. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I thought I did answer it earlier on. I said the reason why I only appointed one chairperson was there were already factions in the board. And the only one, because of his governance and risk experience from UWC, I thought that let me just appoint him to deal with the governance and risk issues. So you are correct. I only appointed a chairperson. I did not appoint a deputy chairperson. up till now, the 22nd of August after the dissolved board. So you're right. You're right. I did not. And my reason is that there were factions in the board. And I was trying to sort out the factions in the board.
Chair,
That's why I didn't appoint a deputy chair. If you don't accept my explanation, you can say so, honorable member. But that's the reason.
Chair, may I just do a follow-up on that one last point, because it is critical.
I think also time is going,
Just-
Honorable Ishmael. We've spent more than an hour on you as one member. And other members, you can see now they are complaining.
But this is a
Because they've-
critical matter because this has led to the dissolvement of the board.
I think then we will do so after lunch.
Thank you, Chair.
It's 20 to 2. Let us break and we'll come back at 20, is it 20 past? Half past. We'll come back at half past